Hi guys and girls, welcome to another independent review of my different kind of a bike, um, Suzuki Gladius. As probably some of the ones who know about the bike, it's similar to Suzuki SV650S. It's a V-twin cylinder 650cc bike. So what Suzuki has done here is probably to give us a competitive bike to the SV650 and 650S, which are the feared versions. On this end, they probably tried to create something more on the lines of Ducati, which is like V twins as well, and compete with them in the price market and offer us something different. Now, what we have here is a very small package, and as I said, this is an independent review, so I'm not trying to create any kind of differences, but this is my self experienced ride, as I've been riding this bike for almost 10 days now, and I've had about 350 miles on it. So out of just the general riding experiences, I feel it's worth sharing my experience on the bike. So overall, this bike feels quite light, nimble, small. I'm a 5'10", 5'11" rider, so about 178 centimeters tall. Now, this bike is primarily very, it's very centralized, so the weight is all lowered and it's a low bike. The seat height is really very small, so primarily it's aimed at people with height disability, height limitations. In terms of, if you're a tall person, you probably would feel that this bike is not meant for you. It's really very small. So when you're sitting on it, it does give you a feel that you're sitting actually on a bicycle instead of a cycle. So if I have to put my feet down, I would be sitting comfortably with touching my feet down both sides and relatively comfortably. It's like a couch, as if I'm sitting on a couch. It's not like really sitting on a proper motorbike. it's it doesn't make you feel like it's a 650. Maybe it's just because it's a V twin, but other than that, the feel sitting on the bike is very low. I would say it's more meant for the smaller riders and maybe a female riders as well. So let's have a look at what Suzuki offered us in this bike. um, the tank, the panels on the both sides are plastic. The tank itself is just the main central metal tank part, which is about 11 liters with 4 liters reserve. And in that said, it does make you feel it's very light and nimble, actually nimble. So let's hear, once you kick it on, it won't start without pressing the clutch. So for it to be started, I'll have to hold the clutch and press the power button. Now with one hand, it's a bit tricky, but yeah, here we go. So you can hear the voice as you feel it. It's quite a V-twin engine voice. So that's mostly the general sound of this bike. It's got a twin exhaust. In a way, it's just got the two exhaust pipes in the end. General riding, the bike is smooth. You won't find it difficult in handling or other things. But as I said, I'm tall, so from my perspective, this bike is not practically the one that fits my needs. It's just a temporary bike for me. But still, for anyone who's looking to buy this bike, there are a few considerations that you have to make. That this bike is not meant for tall riders. This bike is not a motorway ride. If you're going to ride the bike on the motorways or on the open roads for long distances, this is not the kind of bike you want. You want to have some wind protection, because this bike on a open motorway, like if you're riding really long distances, you would tend to get tired fairly quick. The engine grunt wears out after 9,800 rpm, it just touches 133, but that's extremely when you're just on the tank. You put your head just behind, there is no wind deflection, so you're actually facing the wind right into your face, and it's not the very ideal situation on the motorways. You want to be relaxed, comfortably riding, which just doesn't happen. So now that said, I've been on the bike, the top speed maximum you'd ever reach. I mean, I'm not a heavy rider, so 133 is what I managed, and that's the max out on this bike. But you would not be doing that. 100 is also hard on this bike because the wind in your face is really strong, and it does give you a lot of stress on your shoulders. In terms of uh, overall looks, I mean, it's a small bike. There isn't much you can have from it, but it has a good riding stance for smaller people. I stress it again for smaller people because you could actually feel it. I've been leaning on the bike. It does give you feel, it does have the confident feel in its handling, so you won't really feel much in in a situation that you'd feel like, no, I'm going to lose the control. No, it's balanced, it's fine, it's good. But if you're leaning too much, because I've been leaning on this bike for a while, but you'd see that the side stand touches on the lean. The side stand would touch the first thing on the when you're leaning too much. So you probably would not want to lean this bike at all. It's not really a bike where you'd want to do anything other than just riding from A to B, or just a general riding style. Uh, wheels, I would say they're pretty good. Braking is very bad. It's not, it doesn't prompt you that confidence in riding with the braking. You don't feel that strength in the brakes. You just feel that you should have more control on the speeds. You don't have that feeling in these brakes at all. Now I don't know if these are the brakes on this particular model or if they're the same across the 650 range, but yes, you'd not want to have the brakes doing 100 miles and knowing that, oh, I don't have the confidence in the brakes. So these are the brakes which you might want to maybe upgrade, get the braided lines and have a bit more strong feeling in the brakes. I reviewed Kawasaki 650 ER6F, which is a faired version, similar style engine, which is 650 V twin as well. I would say if you are to compare something similar on those lines, even that feels quite light, same as this one. I would say 4 cylinders and twins are a big difference. You can't really compare them in terms of power, but still, if you're looking at a 650, you would either want to go for SV650, the faired version, or you might want to consider Kawasaki in this regards, which has a better fairing. So on the motorway, at least you know that you have something of a wind resistance, so you don't get blown away just across, like from the front, because you have straight head-on wind, which you want to have, I mean, which you don't want to have straight onto your face, because you want to have it deflected right above your head. So if that doesn't happen, you're very uncomfortable on the motorways. Now that said, this bike is more or less a smaller version of the bigger V twins, and I would call it a city bike. Mileage wise, this bike is quite good. I've got up to 58 miles per gallon on this bike, riding considerably not too rough in the city conditions on the motorway often. So overall, that's not a bad mileage. I mean, it's got a smaller tank. Now that said, that still leaves you with a good travel range. But again, just on the small roads, A roads, B roads, not specifically motorways, unless you get a front visor deflector or like a wind deflection or some kind of fairing. So Suzuki have done homework, but this specifically is just for the smaller riders. Power wise, it doesn't have too much. About 5,500 rpm, you feel that the engine is maxed out on the grunt. The power is just lowered, and you just feel that it's starting to wear off. There isn't much left. So the initial grunt is still 5,500 rpm, and then you feel, okay, you can just cruise now. Pushing it any harder on any road other than a small roads is really a stress on your shoulders, on your face, on your whole front where you're seated. They've done a little good job here with the indicators, which are clear view indicators, so you have a nice, you're seen from far away. Lights, the tail light is just standard bulb tail light, no LEDs on this one, so it's fairly all right. The rear tire is 160, so it's not that broad tire, but I think for 650 V twin it does give you enough of grip. They by default on this model comes with Continental road tires, and the rear disc brakes and the front disc brakes, as I said, they don't make you feel that confident using them at high speeds. Engine wise, construction wise, it's pretty all right for the price at which it comes at, and I feel that's what Suzuki has done good with it. But it's a fully naked bike, nothing much to compare from it. So I feel overall you might have some answers to your questions which you might be looking at through different forums, through different places. But anything, if you feel like, feel free to ask me a question and I'll try and get you an answer. Cheers guys, thanks for watching. Bye bye.